Observatory, and today we're continuing our adventure in astrophotography processing. The last thing that we did was register all of our images, meaning that we made sure that all the stars and all the images would line up one on top of one another so that there wouldn't be any blurring between the images when we put them together. And now it is time for us to put them together, not completely together. We want to do this separately for each filter that we have. So if you're using LRGB at the end of this process, you're going to end up with a single lumen image, a single red image, a single green image, and a single blue image. We will call those masters. If you're using narrowband, you would do the same process for those. So if you're using the O3 or the hydrogen alpha filter, same thing. You look at all your O3 images and stack them together and make one O3 master. In PixInsight, we're going to go to Process, All Processes, Image Integration. You'll also hear another word for what we're about to do, which is called stacking. A lot of astrophotographers use that term, stacking. PixInsight says Image Integration. And so that's what we're going to use. We're going to start with the blue images. And again, this is Melanie's data in the Leo trio, NGC 3628, a kind of distorted edge-on spiral galaxy. And we're going to start with just the blue images. So we have all our images. This is from the registered folder. You can see this up here. And we're going to just grab all the blue images and add them to our image integration tool here. If you remember, a few steps ago, we used the subframe selector for two purposes. The first purpose was to do some image rejection, to get rid of all the images that weren't good enough to be used for our final image, and also to select the best image within each filter. This is where that last part comes into play. So one of the things you should have done when you did the analysis in the subframe selector is you should have sorted all of your images in order of signal to noise ratio from the highest signal to noise ratio to the lowest. And what we want to do is now use that reference image here. And for this particular set of images, this ends up just being coincidental, but the image that has the best signal to noise ratio, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, is the very first one up here. Most of the times, we've got 39 images here. It will be somewhere in the middle of the stack or near the end of the stack. It just happens to be coincidental that it's first. Regardless of where it is, you're going to click on it because you see that right now, this set reference button is grayed out, because we have to click on something over here. So I'm going to select this one and say set reference. And so now that one is set. If your image was further down in the stack here, then let's say that it was 23,516. If you were to select that as the reference image, that image number, that image would come to the top of this stack. So the fact that ours just happened to be the very first one, that's kind of coincidental. All right, so now we're going to set up the rest of the image integration tool here in PixInsight. We're going to go to the image integration section here, and we're going to look at what we can do with some of the presets here. So combination, average is fine. Additive with scaling is also fine. And then we're going to weight towards signal to noise ratio. So what this does, if we were to not have any weighting whatsoever, then all the 39 images would be considered equal to one another. And so the average would be just exactly the same for all of them. Everyone would have essentially 1/39 of the final image in there. Since we're weighting with signal to noise ratio, what that is asking PixInsight to do is to order the images in signal to noise ratio and have the ones that have the best signal to noise ratio have a slightly higher impact on the final image, and the ones with at the low end of the signal to noise ratio are going to have less impact on the final image. The rest of this here looks fine. It's very important, even though this is part of the default setting for the image integration tool, we do want to have generate integrated image checked off. And the reason for that is We are creating a new image. Out of all these 39 images that we're stacking up, we're going to create one new master, in this case a blue master, since we're using the blue filter. The rest of this is all fine. We're going to go down here to pixel rejection 1, and we're going to make some changes here. We do want to have a rejection algorithm, and we're going to select Windsorized Sigma clipping. We use Windsorized Sigma clipping if you have at least a dozen images in the stack that you're using. We have 39, so we have way beyond that. You should all have at least a dozen images in each filter for your images. If you have less than that, then we might use Sigma clipping or linear fit clipping or something else. But I'm just going to assume that that we have at least a dozen images within the filter. We do want to look at a rejection map. So this is asking us to generate a rejection map. So a rejection map is essentially a brand new image, but it's actually going to show you what pixels were rejected. And it says maps, it's plural, because it's going to actually make two new images. In addition to the stacked image, the blue image that we're going to keep as our master, it's going to make an image that shows you just what pixels were rejected at the high end and which ones were rejected at the low end. And that can be interesting to look at, so I think we'll go ahead and do that and leave that there. We can go ahead and close pixel rejection 1 and pixel rejection 2, the presets in there are just fine. Large scale pixel rejection, that's fine. We do want to have signal and noise evaluation checked on. That will help with the stacking. And the last thing we need to do, we're not doing just a region of interest. A region of interest would be where we just select a portion of the image to stack. And there would be reasons why you might want to do that if you're doing some other type of work. But for us, just making a picture right now using, trying to get to a blue master image, we don't need to do that. We'll click Apply Global. This does take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and click it, and I will rejoin you when the process is done running. Site and the image integration tool, and PixInsight has finished stacking the blue filter images, and here's the progress console. We'll go ahead and close that out. We can see that it says ready, so it's all done. And you'll see that it's generated 3 new images up here. Integration, which is going to be the blue master image. The low rejection, meaning the pixels that got rejected that were on the low end, and pixel rejection high. And you'll see we don't see much, but we need to go ahead and move the image integration tool over, and we're going to go ahead and make this a little bigger, and then we're going to stretch it. So this is on Control A on your computer keyboard. Just hit Control A. This will do a stretch, and this is kind of interesting. We can see there's a lot of fuzziness, but there is also some stars that in some of the images maybe were a bit bloated, given maybe to bad atmospheric seeing, or maybe something wasn't as focused as it should be. And so these are the pixels that the image integration tool in PixInsight decided that it wasn't going to use, that it didn't match up. So some of these may have been like 1 or 2 images. Let's just talk about the stars where we've kind of got a ring here. Some of the images may have had stars that were bloated, and PixInsight decided that a majority of the images did not have that. And so it decided that those images, those pixels were outliers, and decided to reject them. So that's a good thing. We're going to go ahead and close that, and we're going to look at the low pixels that were rejected. And this is also kind of interesting. And we'll go ahead and stretch it. And there wasn't a whole lot of difference with the stretch, but you know, we're looking in the main part of the image and we don't see much. But if you look at the edges, you see kind of like a grayish fuzzy band at the left and the right. And there may even be a slight one at the top and the bottom, but certainly at the left and the bottom. And so these were pixels that were also rejected. This is a result of when we did the image registration. And when we make the final image, when we get to the final masters, we're going to crop them so that these kind of edges aren't included in the final picture. We don't want that in the final picture. So we are going to do some cropping. That's the next step after we've integrated all our images for each filter. Let's go ahead and take a look, and I'll make this a little larger, at our blue master image. So I can already see a few bright areas, some stars in there, and we're going to go ahead and hit Control A to do an auto stretch. And there we have our blue master image. So this is the 39 images that we added in the image integration tool. And we weighted them according to signal to noise ratio. And you can see that we've got a nice galaxy, even with the blue filter, which lets in a limited amount of light. We've got some detail in there. We can see plenty of stars that look like they're pretty nice and round. We've got these rays coming out of some of the stars. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up a little bit so we can see. Here's a nice one down here. This right in here, this star. And so these spikes coming out are from the spider, what's called the spider, that's holding the secondary mirror in place on the telescope. So a lot of astrophotography, you'll see these spikes on stars. That's perfectly normal and okay. And we'll go back down to the regular size. So that is our blue image. We do need to do one more thing, though, with this image, which is we worked hard to get to this point where we have one single blue image. It'd be a shame to all of a sudden lose it. So we do want to save it. So we're going to go to Save As, and we're going to go to our next folder up, which is Masters. We've done our image rejection, which was the keep folder. We've calibrated them. We've done cosmetic correction. We've registered. Now we're in the masters folder, and we're going to open that up. And we're going to label this as NGC 3628B. So that is our blue master. Again, we always want to be keeping the file type when we save these until we get to Photoshop as XISF. This is the file format that PixInsight uses. And so we want to stick with that until we get to the final image in PixInsight. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click Save. This will always come up. We do want to save this as a 32-bit here. So make sure the presets here are just fine. We don't need to worry about that. So just go ahead and click OK. And we're fine. And you can see that the process console came up again. We can get rid of that. We'll go ahead and close the blue image. Now, we did a little bit of work in here to set up these different settings, presets for, not presets, but the settings that we just put in for our blue integration. And so if we hit the reset button down here, it's going to get rid of all that. So really all we want to do is just hit the clear. PixInsight has finished with the blue ones. We went ahead and cleared all this. We didn't do a reset, we just hit the clear button. And we're going to add files for our next filter. And that's going to be the green filter. And we want to essentially do the exact same process. We're going to just select all the green images. One more should do it. And it looks like we can go up a little bit. Here's the last green image. Okay, so we have all the green images selected. We had 39 blues, we've got 36 greens. And again, we're going to make sure that we select a reference image for the green. And in this case, the best green image, the best green image with the highest signal noise ratio is 23642. So we're going to scroll down 23642, wrong number, 23642. So we're going to scroll down and find that. And there it is, 23642. We're going to select it. And we will see when we click set reference, it then goes up to the top. And everything else here, unless you did the reset, but if you just did the clear images here, clear the input images, all the rest of this stuff should be just fine. And then we go ahead and click Apply Global, and off we go again. And so you're going to do this separately with each filter that you have. And so that will do it for the PixInsight image integration tool. And at the end of this, you should have one single master image for each filter that you shot. And we will see you next time as we continue our astrophotography